One second. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I'd like to invite the speaker, Miss Subangi Umapathy, who will talk about the hidden connection between soil and sparrows. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, or the whole team of Agriculture Information. Good evening, everyone in this forum who are attending this session today. Today, we are going to talk about the connection between soil and sky, which means basically we are going to focus on one bird whom we are losing the count, and but people have already started working on retrieving them. And we are going to understand more about why it is important to retrieve them and what is the current scenario and how many people have been working towards it, and just a gist of everything. It is more like an awareness and a call to action from each and every individual, and a spread from you all would also help because this is very important. Yeah, so let's go move into the session. Let me, before even we move into the session, let me put a thought towards y'all. How many of y'all have seen a sparrow recent times? Not like I have seen in the childhood, I've seen one or two. How many have y'all have been living with the sparrows day in and day out today in today's world? There have been days where we used to sit and eat with sparrows. Not only sparrows, they used to say in Tamil Nadu, they used to call as kaka kurvi. Like without these two birds, there's no family which is complete. So that is how our life has been. So it is time for us to think, when did we last see a sparrow? With this pause, let us move into the current scenario. Today, we are losing our count of sparrows. And when we started losing them, we always thought that there were the only reason was the radiations. But let me, before even we get into the reasons, when we have to bring back something, when we really wanted to understand why we are losing them, we need to understand what is their lifestyle, and then we can connect with how we are missing them. So basically, if for every living being, whether it's a plant or whether it's human being or whether it's a sparrow or any bird, they need home and they need food, they need shelter, they need water. These are the basic needs. These are the basic needs not only for us, for every living being on earth. And while we come to the sparrows, their homes are more connected to the human homes, and the soil is very important for them, and our choices of giving them space is also equally important to bring them back. So let's move into understanding sparrows now. When we actually move into sparrows world, the main food has always been for birds. We always think first thing which comes is, okay, let me keep a bird feeder, and if I put some grains, bird has its food. Yes, that's true. The adult bird food is always grains or anything, worms, grains, everything. But when a baby bird needs a food, it is always a worm, and the worm, it has a connection with the soil. When we start losing soil, we start losing worms, and when we start losing worms, we start losing the good food for the little ones, the little sparrows or any little birds. And this way, what happens, eventually the new babies don't grow and we lose them. Eventually the count decreases over the period of time. Again, enough water. Sparrows are not wild birds, they are always birds with our humans. They're connected, they're home birds. More of, if you see, in olden days they used to say, oh, I'm not able to close my window properly or door properly because the sparrow nest is there. Until the nest hatches, I cannot clean it. It is very important the nest is there. Sparrows are very particular about their nest also. So what we see here is our buildings and styles were changing, and that is where sparrows started losing their home, and they started also losing food for their younger ones. And eventually, when there are no younger ones, there's no multiplication which happens. So there's no nesting space, which is home. There was no proper water eventually. Obviously, there's a global warming and there's no water everywhere. Like you see dryness everywhere, that too mainly in our urbanization. When the urbanization is happening, even in terrace, there was one point where people say don't keep any open water. The mosquitoes are multiplying. So those small things, we tend not to keep water, but eventually birds do not have water, and the main affected birds are sparrows and crows, because even crows, they find out a way, but sparrows are home birds. They are more connected with the families. And then they really need natural ground. Why sparrows need natural ground? They Sparrows love sand bath. I will also go into a couple of videos. They love to take bath in sand. That is a good health for them. The nits on their skin, or which is connected in the feathers, these all gets cleaned up. So sand bath is something very important for sparrows lifestyle. So basically, they had a dependency on human spaces, and they always live with human being, and it's not a forest wild bird. And since we did not give the space eventually, but deliberately we didn't do anything, but because of our lifestyle change, eventually we started losing them. And again, as I said, they eat seeds and insects. Insects are the only food for the sparrow babies, little ones. And they are very social. You can always become a sparrow's friend. To be uh, All birds, in fact, even hen, 2 to 3 days you move with them, they become a pet. Generally, when we say pet, it has always been like dog or cat. But even birds recognize us. Birds can understand us, and birds also share a different psychological parenting with us. And let me get into it. So why this really matters? If I have so now you we have seen what are the basic needs of sparrows, but why exactly it matters? It's even more very important, because if we are not bringing back the sparrows, there's not only a connection with the soil, even there is a connection with the way human food is supplied. Let us see that in a very just way. So basically, sparrows control pests naturally, which means they help the farmers and also the crops and also in our little gardens. And they spread seeds. Obviously, not only sparrows, there are the birds. Majorly, birds are called as the pollinators, where they eat the fruit, they digest, they also eat the seed, and they drop the seed, and that germinates and grows as a tree. So there is a cycle in the environment, and they help in spreading the seeds and creating an ecosystem balance. So sparrows played a vital role because they were always living with humans, and if our environment, our living environment has to be in balance, we have to call our human socializing birds back. And also they are also the indicators of how healthy our environment is, our surrounding is, the immediate human surrounding is. Now, if we have to talk about sparrows, we also have to understand the criticality of why we should not lose them. And for this, I'm bringing back a history in one of, as information, you can Google this, the dodo bird. Most of them who is following agriculture and nature-based people would have known this, but this awareness is also equally important. This dodo bird belongs to an island, and this dodo bird has a very short history. I mean, I'm going to tell the history in very short. People started hunting the bird, and eventually this bird is no more, this distinct, it is no more, like we don't even have the traces of this bird on our earth. But what happened next? This bird had a way, the connection between the tree and the plants and the bird. It will take this calvaria tree's seed, fruit, eat it, and the seed has to stay in its digestive system and come out. Only then the seed germinates. This way, this tree is also gone extinct right now. That was the current research news. So maybe the last birds seeds have germinated, that was also a news came, but right now we don't have both of the tree and the bird. Because of a bird, we have lost a tree. But why is this story in this sparrow thing? There is a connection. One small bird can bring a global impact, and this small bird is a house bird where everyone's house has to invite or give space for the sparrows. And how we are going to give it in this comfortable lifestyle, we have a way for that as well. So, first, let's understand how this connection happens. So, if you have to invite a sparrow, you need to give home for them. If you have to have home, you need to have food and shelter, and you also have to have water for them. While you keep all these, which is the place which keeps us comfortable, a lively home? Like that, for them, a place which is comfortable is a lively place where plants are. So, if you have to invite sparrows, you need to have little bit of plants at least in your home. So when you're having that plant, what happens? Every home with small, small plants, there is a beautiful change in the climate atmosphere there. And when the climate change happens today, globalization heat, obviously the climate heat also reduces and we can bring a big impact in future. And why it is necessary for us to bring work on this today? Because if the heat increases, if our global climate heat, globalization heat increases, the major crops, agriculture crops which gets affected is, they call it as C3 group crops. And what are the C3 group crops is wheat and rice. There are many, but main important two crops are wheat and rice, which we consume day in and day out, morning, evening, and night in different forms. So, this is how a sparrow or a bird getting distinct affects not only the soil, this is the connection between soil, plant, and also we human being. While we can give comfortable atmosphere to our children, like we can buy many things, we can give them good education, we can also make them lifestyle very comfortable. But if, like sparrows, like how sparrows do not have a comfortable environment to stay, if our next generation is not having a comfortable environment to stay, whatever comforts we are doing for them is not going to be purposeful at all. While we think it's a comfort, we are making them enter into a dangerous climate and environment style, which is not going to support their health system. So with this, I'll also add few more points how different kinds of plants can actually bring back sparrow ecosystem and how exactly that connects with your children as well. Like you can keep plants like lemon, exora, curry leaf. These are the plants which can be kept in pot, even the small pot, because these plants invite three bees. What are those? Honeybee, butterflies, and birds. So, why these three bees are very important for your ecosystem? If sparrows loves to have the caterpillar's pupa, caterpillar and caterpillar's pupa, obviously it comes worm family. But again, this cycle, honeybees are also invited and they also, honeybees are pollinators again for you all. So we have more plants, more pollinators, and a good ecosystem where all these bees, three bees are invited with plants. So with plants and sparrows, the core connection of soil is also built in because your soil becomes healthy. There are worms and they get worms to eat. So this is the connection of sparrows, and that is a video which I would like to show you. And all these are taken from the references. This is how sparrows love to live. Even the smallest portion of good soil will help them, or plants would help them. So this is a small backyard where you leave a soil and a plant, and how they come and enjoy and go. A very small backyard, and while we understood about sparrows and the impact they will be giving if they are completely eradicated, we also need to understand why they started disappearing. So if we all think that radiations was only reason, no, that's wrong because that's only a small part of it. Radiations doesn't give a big, I mean, it gives an impact, but not a big impact of losing the bird itself. But what has given us a big impact was our environment and our spaces, which we built beautifully looking and very neatly done, zero errors, but we have started losing the other living beings around us. So, if you see In those days we have always had some holes, or we have had the shelters which had holes where they were doing having nest and all. But today we have high raised buildings, completely concreted surroundings, and very few trees for them to live. And sparrows do not need huge trees. Even a smallest backyard with a beautiful set of 4 5 plants is more than enough. Even a window plant is more than enough for you to invite a sparrow to your home, if you're giving them very few things like a home to stay and water and food to be. With few plants, they comfortably live. And we also started losing native plants, and landfills were becoming very toxic, not only for sparrows, also for multiple birds and animals as well. They were getting poisoned basically. And there were no openings, as I told you. Farms and farmlands, we started using lots of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. So this reduced insects. It doesn't even reduce, I mean, not only insects, it also reduced the health of our intake of food and all. The natural vitamins and other health related um, measure points were actually gradually reducing by using heavy chemical fertilizers, synthetic fertilizers. So because of these, not only sparrows, most of the birds also got eradicated, or the strength is reducing. So when we find these are the simple reasons, and these simple reasons can be little, with little small change, one step at a time, with little small change, we can always bring them back. And that change I'm going to show you with the real time stories, because sparrows don't need much of work. A little bit of empathetic and a human connection with the bird is more than enough to bring them back. So, while I speak about how to bring them back, we will connect with the real time stories so that it resonates with us very easily. When I did some research of, okay, Indian based what and all, there are lots of stories when you Google it. Very few I'll showcase it in the interest of time. If we go into the Kudugal Trust, they have created multiple workshops in the schools where children build sparrows homes, where they build sparrows homes, and the awareness comes on how to invite a sparrow back and why it is important. And eventually they have made children understand this is a connection, and it's environment improvements which needs to be done and which needs to be started. So basically we used to say, right, anything you feed in the early age, they're going to take it up throughout the lifetime. That is what this Kudugal Trust has done, and they have invited more sparrows. Not only through trust or NGOs, we have come across many individuals who have worked towards bringing them sparrows. And in Chennai, there is one of the sparrow savior who created some designer kind of earthen pots or homes for them. And one single home has invited multiple sparrows over the period of time. And how she did that was, she had a conversation with her mom casually, and which actually said that now kids don't even have an entertainment of seeing the birds outside. That was the greatest entertainment in our childhood, which our children are really missing. So that conversation made her to invite sparrows, and she did it in a different way. And today, she is one of the sparrow savior. And like that, we have a person in Pondicherry whose home is a couple in Pondicherry whose home is full of sparrows. And they have also done lots of workshops. This Chennai savior has also done lots of workshops in the waste items. How can you create a bird feeder and shelter for sparrows? Likewise, we also have a person in Bengaluru, Edwin Joseph. He has been changing his home more comfortable to sparrows. Yeah, whatever I'm showing you is live examples where sparrows have come back. So it is not a non-doable. We have sparrows roaming around. We just have to invite them. So our atmosphere is really good. But what are the actions we can take forward? That is very important, right? We know we are seeing stories that people are doing it, but why it is important for every home to contribute to it? Like how we say, the ocean is not formed with just a ocean, right? Every drop forms an ocean. That is how this is going to be. Every house should make space for their little friend, little feather friend, so that everybody's action together can make a very big impact. One or two doing in a corner is not sufficient, because that is not the lifestyle which we lived when we were in early when we were child. And today's scenario, since we are losing them in a very fast way, it is important that every person contributes to it. And like when we say what the examples which we showed was more of individual houses, but today we are all staying in apartment, even though with 1 bhk with small windows, still it is possible to invite sparrows with small small steps which you could take. Wherever you see space, you need to provide them in a water bowl, you need to provide them grains. And sparrows loves to have nest boxes, and it's not required that nest boxes has to be really pakka made beautifully with wooden finish and all, or earthen finish. Even a smallest cardboard would help if they are not disturbed. And balcony space is enough, and every small space also matters for this. So one example of how a person has made one cardboard box, and so many sparrows started coming in when the food and water and some plants were provided. So this is one small example. And when we are doing all this for sparrows are very sensitive also. So what are the points which we need to take while inviting sparrows? Is, yes, you're placing a bird feeder, you're keeping clean water daily, which is important, you're also providing a nest box, and and you have to keep them in a sheltered place, but it has to be little open also, like a balcony or a veranda, or even a window space, outside window space. And you have to fix the nest at least 10 feet, even the cardboard at least 10 feet, minimum 10 feet height from the from the ground, so that they are not disturbed and they get confidence to come and live with us. And very important, sparrows are very sensitive to human smell as well. So do not fill the nest with any cushioning or any hay or any soft things. They will do it by themselves. It's only that we need to provide a space. If you see in our olden days, there's already a space near our homes ceilings, and they used to come and fill soft haze or some sticks, and then they used to have even eggs kept. So that is how they are. They will build their home. We just need to provide the space. And also, if mostly if the facing is south or west, preferably it's good because of the breeze, which which is very comfortable for them. The airflow will be very comfortable for them. And avoid direct sunlight falling on the nest. If a place is provided like this, these are the very small points which needs to be considered while you place a nest for your sparrows. If these things are considered and placed, I'm very sure you will easily invite a sparrow. And most important thing what I wanted to mention is, we take our children to all the bird sanctuaries. We go into a big cage, and we put food in our hand, and we try to invite the bird and feed them. The birds are used to people, and so they come and they take the feed. But similarly, once in a while, taking our kids or our next generations, or even our people whom wanted to connect with nature, or who people whom you wanted to create that atmosphere with nature, once in a while, instead of taking them to a bird sanctuary, you can make your own surrounding a nature invited sanctuary. Because once these birds gets used to us, they love to take even feed from our hands. They don't fear at all. But this level connection and trust has to be created, and it comes over the period of time and not overnight. And again, one more thing which is very important is, when we say sparrows, or when we say birds, or when we say connecting with nature, there are a couple of lessons which the kid or the next generation, or even we as a human being, the nature teaches us. So, for example, when I told you about the butterflies and how the caterpillar comes, this actually I met my mentor, and he really told me this will be a real insight for the kids when we explain why struggle and hard work is very important to achieve good things. It doesn't come easily. A caterpillar pupa, when you cut it, it doesn't have any wings, or it can't fly. But with all its struggle, it breaks open after days, weeks, and it comes out. It comes as a beautiful butterfly. So we, instead of children just seeing it as something coming out as a science experiment, it resonates with their own life. Like just studying a day before an exam, or knowing things, or if they want to achieve something, they cannot just sit and have it. The struggle which they undergo will mold them into a beautiful life future. Such things, it actually connects. So whatever we do, we are not doing only for us. We are doing mostly for the next generation. And it is high time we focus and we take things forward for them and also for us. Most importantly, sparrows are not just small birds who come and sit, take our space in the environment. They are very important for our future food supply, because good soil equal to good food equal to good health, and all these can happen only if we have a balance in the ecosystem. And these birds, little birds, contribute very great impact to our ecosystem. And why we are talking about this today? Because one NGO or one person in the whole state or city doing this doesn't help at all. Every individual has to do something small, and if they do, it's a lovely life, not only for them, to the world around them, and for their next generation. There is a human, soil, plant, and bird and animal. It's all connected. It cannot be separated. Once separated, the whole lifestyle itself gets, cycle itself gets disturbed. So with this, thank you so much. Any questions? We can take it further. I'm Subangi Umapathy, founder Tulips and Daffodils. And my mentor is Dr. Sultan Ahmed Ismail. And I keep learning little from him, but I love to give more of awareness in a very simple way. All the videos and the informations here has been taken from net, and the disclaimer only for knowledge purpose. We are taking and consolidating, and we are giving it as a presentation here. So any questions, we can take it forward now. Was I audible?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Subangi, for a very interesting presentation, and the most very good interesting topic actually, which is needed now. Okay. So I'll take up now some questions. Yeah. So how does soil health influence bird biodiversity, especially sparrows in agriculture ecosystems?
Yeah, that's a lovely thing, and that's very important. As I told you before, in the interest of time, we have shortened. But let me tell you how soil health is very important. What is soil health? We say soil is healthy when we find something called as, in Tamil they used to say manvasanai. What is this smell of soil? It is because of the microorganisms which are in the soil. What does this microorganisms in soil do? Again, earthworms are also the important friend we have for all our soil related health. Now, what does these microorganisms do? A plant food is provided by the microorganism. And how it is provided? Each microorganism, when they take the required, when they biodegrade, they give nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, NPK. I mean, I'm telling the outlined part. NPK is very important for your plant, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. But when this is feeded in external way, that is chemicals. That irritates the microorganisms. They can't consume it. Plant directly consumes it. When they are naturally giving it, it is a good health for plants. That is the food for plants which goes from the soil, and that is why soil health helps the plants to grow. Plants or trees, whatever, is a living shelter for these birds. And for birds, they grow with grains, which is again from the soil, and they grow with worms. The baby birds grow with worms, not grains, because they are rich in proteins, and that again you can find only from the soil. So with this, there's this healthy soil not only helps the plant to grow, it also helps the birds and animals. How animals? Most of the animals eat grass and anything plant related, right? Many of them say that many of them can question, okay, non-vegetarian animals, for they don't eat plants. But for a non-vegetarian animal to eat a vegetarian animal, the vegetarian animal has to eat plants to survive, and these plants has to eat this food, healthy food from the soil to grow, right? That's a connection again. While we talk about only animal, plants, birds, and the soil microorganisms, especially earthworms, when the earthworms are there in your soil, it is considered as all this complete ecosystem. The microorganisms, everything are healthily living in the soil, because earthworms are very sensitive to any kind of chemicals. So when we see this, where does the human belong to? Now, when we don't have, human gets food, non-vegetarian human gets non food also from one of the animal or one of the bird kind, right? And vegetarian people get food from plants. Imagine now your soil is getting disturbed and it is not able to provide. Even if you add a chemical fertilizer, your soil still needs microorganisms for that chemical fertilizer to work. But what happens eventually, the chemical fertilizers reduce the microorganisms, and that is why in some people say my soil is dead. No more. Even if I add chemicals, they are not. My plants are not responding, which means without these microorganisms, nothing will respond. No actions can be taken. It is as simple as it is. If I have to say, for a human to have antibiotics, the human should have life in his body, right? Without having life in his body, antibiotics doesn't work, right? It is similar to that. Once in a while, if you're consuming, it is still considered as yes, but if you're able to maintain it completely without any synthetic chemicals, it is very good, and that is where your soil becomes healthy. When your soil is healthy, your complete ecosystem itself healthy is becomes very healthy. Now, if we also have to take another kind of scenarios where your climate comes in picture, soil, sky, and the in between environment, everything plays a connection and role towards our future, like health, or human health, or your environment health, both. So this is the soil connection. Did I answer your question, or do you have to explain anything more?
Yeah, I think that was good. So, next question. What farming practices are causing the decline of sparrows and beneficial birds in rural areas?
So if we are very specific with the farming practices, no, actually sparrows, if you see, as I told you, sparrows more lived with us actually. So it is not only the farming practice, it is also the environment which we provide for them. And again, when it comes to the farming practice, it is very direct, using of synthetic fertilizers, which will reduce your insects and worms growth. When the worms and insects growth reduces, the food for your birds, not only sparrows, the food for your birds reduces. When this reduces, the decline of insects, the major food, the adult bird can eat a fruit or a grain and live, but the baby needs to have these insects or worms to survive. Your next generation of the birds is affected. When the next generation is affected, the numbers decline. Your population of that particular bird or that particular living system declines completely. So it is a very direct thing, like using anything, any chemicals which reduces your insects and worms growth, microorganisms growth, is going to decline your birds population as well. because your young birds lives only with insects and worms, not with grains.
Okay. And how do chemical fertilizers and pesticides affect the soil food bird relationship?
Okay, I think it's similar to the previous thing which I answered, soil, food, and bird relation. Because food, again, it doesn't decline overnight for us. It takes generations to, decline the numbers and go distinct. So, if we have to directly talk about how chemical fertilizers, it resonates with the previous answer what we provided. You use more of, imagine you have a land where constantly you're using chemicals, and that is an ecosystem with birds, animals, everything. Only that land is your world. That land is this ecosystem world. And eventually, the more you use, the more organisms in your soil is going to decay slowly. It is not going to generate any new food. So the worms are going to decline, the insects are going to, even the good, see, even in farming there is something called as good bug and bad bug. But when you use a chemical fertilizer, it doesn't differentiate any good bug or bad bug. It is going to eradicate everything for one shot. So there your environment is getting disturbed. Today it gets disturbed 10%, tomorrow 20%, then 30%, and it eventually grows that way. And one day your not only sparrows, any of your birds or any of your animals, you're not going to have a proper food supply to them. If we have to talk in detail about chemical fertilizer, soil, and the sparrow connection, it is not only soil and the sparrow connection, even the human connection comes in picture. Because in rural areas, birds will have space to stay, but do they have good food to live with or get their next generation ready with their food? That is where the question comes in. So all chemicals are not, are not going to make a worm survive or a insect survive. When you use too much of them, then you're losing a balance in your ecosystem. Eventually, the cycle gets disconnected. The food cycle gets disconnected, then your generation cycle also gets disconnected. And this disconnect, before even it goes to the worse one, it's better we recall. That's the thing. So either way, yes, but when you talk about non-chemical or natural way of taking care of plants or taking care of your field, then you need to really have a core discipline, because in natural way, prevention is always better than cure. Once you get a viral fever, you have to go for a medication only. But there are so many ways to reduce your to prevent your viral fever by maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So that is how it is, even for the environment or the plants. The moment you see them, plants also communicate to us. They don't open their mouth. There's no mouth. They don't open and speak. But plant communicate to us through their leaf tip. The leaf tip is the communication, and that's a big different storyline, which we can see it one other day. But plant communicates. The moment you see they're communicating, they immediately you have to start your prevention methods, sprays every 10 days, giving them a good cow slurry spray. Cow's urine is the lovely fertilizer for all your mango farming or any farming. Cow's urine is the best best pest control. And cow dung is the best fertilizer, vermicompost. We have lots, but in natural way and organic, prevention is always better than cure. But while
Okay,
in the chemical farming, it's different. And that is also going to show the results eventually. Like your soil is going to stop responding to medicines, like how our body also starts responding.
right. Okay. And can regenerative organic farming help in bringing back sparrows and pollinators?
Yeah. So, see, it's not about only sparrows, pollinators, and regenerative. See, that's a term which we use. There are different types. Whatever type is comfortable, or if everything is comfortable, you can form your own new type of agriculture or farming. So, anything. is a way which is comfortable for you and your lifestyle. We will not say do this, do that, do this. There are many methods where you can maintain your farm with good soil health naturally. So use those methods which are more comfortable for you. Instead of telling, oh, they are doing this, let me try this. Don't do that. You try couple of things, whichever is comfortable for your lifestyle, use it so that it becomes a consistent style for you. If we are because what trend we see in new people who buy farms and farming is they see somebody doing it and they try to do it for their farm, which doesn't work out for their budget or for their style, for their timing, everything. So start everything small and do it, and you will know where you feel the comfort, which method gives you comfort. Continue doing that. That is enough. It's not that there's nothing like every time you have to bring some new method. If the results are as you expected, continue doing following the same method.
Okay. And what role do insects and soil microbes play in supporting the food chain for birds?
As I told you, I mean, these are all different questions where there is once a little resonating and same answer. Your soil is with good health, which means it has earthworms, it has different types of worms, it has different types of microorganisms, which gives good health to your plant, and plant grows. Obviously, it's your birds, not only sparrows, your birds gets good nutritious food, which is their worms. When your soil is healthy, obviously your worms are going to be really healthy. It's a cycle, right? They eat it, they become healthy, they multiply, they have food for their babies, and it keeps multiplying. The chain is maintained. So, good soil, obviously, healthy soil, obviously, is going to support the complete ecosystem. While I say healthy soil, it's not the plant. I mean, when obviously soil means the immediate connection is to plants or trees. So, when your tree or your plant is not feeling fine, you're not going to feed the tree or a plant. You're going to feed the soil with good microorganisms, not artificial ones. A simple thing like adding a onion peel water to your soil, a banana peel water to your soil, eggshell roasted eggshell powder to your soil. These are all food for microorganisms where where they multiply. They consume this and they multiply. They biodegrade and they multiply, and soil becomes really healthy with that moisture is nothing, the secretion of these microorganisms, so which has good NPK and other nutrition which is required for your plant to grow and for your worms to grow. When these grows, obviously whoever wants worm as food going to come search and take the food and run, and they're going to have their family running, like mini family, bird family running. So this is how it is. That is why there's always a connection, not only for sparrow as a bird. We have taken sparrow because it's important that we are losing them. We are talking about them. Even for human, it is important. If this situation is going to continue for sparrows, tomorrow food for our children is also going to be a challenge if we are not going to concentrate on what we have to do from our end today.
Okay. And how can farmers create a more bird-friendly farming environment without affecting productivity?
So basically, there is there is nothing. If there is actually a balance, birds come and eat, but they don't eat all the fruits. If you have noticed, take a mango farm. In a tree which has 500 fruits, even if 500 birds come, all your 500 fruits are not touched. Nature knows its balance, it eats. But what where we feel it as a difficulty part is when when we start consuming the fruits for our business. If that is our core business, obviously for farmers the yield is the core business. What we do, we eventually you know consider everything is for us itself, not giving something to nature. But there are steps which you need to take. For example, if a jackfruit is coming in a jack tree, you don't leave it open, you cover it. And if, as a farmer, if it is your core, you cover it. So that is how the mini steps will be taken. There are something called as scarecrows, which were developed by our own farmers. If the scarecrow's history was totally beautiful and different, that is a different story. So these scarecrows always care. It shows it has a human being, and it scares the birds to come near your yield. And for every some meters, they used to have one scarecrow dressed like a human itself, where the bird's psychological feeling would be there's a human standing, so I will not go, then they'll catch me. That was the psychological thing which was built on those days. And I think even today farmers use it. So scarecrows were one, and there are multiple other technologies which has come now, like covering the whole thing on the yield time with the green sheet. Everything has come now, but majorly in those days, scarecrows were the saviors. If the birds to keep birds away from their yield, and this is what I know. But probably I will do a more research on this question. What you have given, you have given some new thing for me to even go deeper inside.
Okay. Um, what indicators in farmland ecology show a healthy balance between soil and biodiversity?
Sorry, can we
I'll
repeat, ma'am?
just repeat. What indicators in farmland ecology show a healthy balance between soil and biodiversity?
Okay, soil and biodiversity.
Biodiversity.
As simple as it is. If you have the first test, what you can do is you can see if your farm land is healthy enough to hold. If you dig like this, I learned from my sir. If you dig a farmland, after a limit, you should that land should have its own earthworms. If those earthworms are there, which means it has enough lifestyle for other worms also to live in. The complete ecosystem inside your soil is there. So probably when you start, if it is a land without any, it's a open land. Then once you start building a plant there, tree there, and water availability there, obviously you will be inviting. Does not required for you to go look for a bird and put it there. They will come, they will automatically come. And you can see a diversified, you can see butterflies, you can see bees, you can see birds. And as I said, three main things, if they come in itself, you can say the indication is you have an environment which is sustaining with the balance. Animals will automatically come. Then human will have access to the food and all inside that farm once you grow a plant or a tree. So keeping human aside, because we survive everywhere. When you see a complete ecosystem, that land should be comfortable for birds to live, animals to live, worms to live, and all small other organisms to live, organisms and insects to live. And this is how you can say it's a complete environment comfort ecosystem. If you're having only a mono thing, like in a cage you have multiple birds, a mono style, then it is not going to support the ecosystem at all. The more automatically your bees come in, your butterflies come in, your birds come in, that is the indication that your environment is comfortable for everyone, even for the human to live.
Okay. Next question is, okay. So can mixed farming and agroforestry improve soil fertility and bird habitat simultaneously?
uh, can mixed farming,
Yes,
sorry.
and agroforestry improve soil fertility
Hmm.
and bird habitat
Hmm.
simultaneously.
Hmm. Yes, see, everything like your agro farming or any kind of plants which you're doing, if there is a diversified, not a monotype. Monotype is only having one crop grown. If there is a diversified style which you give to your farmland, probably if you're having yields like rice or wheat, you have to have a monotype to one area. but the corners, borders can be with some plants like chrysanthemum and all, which will actually keep the pest away. Like that, we have lots of, complementing borders and plants for farming. And again, when you say agro, any kind of, see, basic thing is in the question itself, there's an answer. If birds find food, they come. If animals find food, they come. They just don't come. They come and they go back. They invite their friends also. One becomes two, two becomes four, four becomes 10, and you will not know how fast they'll multiply when they have consistent growth of food, supply of food, and when they sense no danger. They can communicate. They have a beautiful way of communication and they share. If you see to children, we can beautifully teach this. They don't come silently, eat and go. They bring. Next time you see, that bird would have come with another bird. Again they go back, that one would have come with couple of others. So when they don't sense danger there, they bring their complete cluster to us. So this is a beautiful thing with nature. One comes, you can ensure you don't show them any danger, everything comes. Again, your soil, your agroforestry or anything, when there is a tree or a plant where they find shelter, you invite the complete ecosystem eventually. But for example, you start for the growth, you're starting using pesticides or some boosters, which actually affects the growth inside your soil. Obviously, it is going to impact birds also or any other living organisms. Eventually, one by one is going to leave slowly. So it is more like a system. Once they come, it doesn't mean they will stay. They sense danger, they will leave also. There's a climate change which is happening. They don't feel comfortable, they leave again. So maintaining and keeping them in comfort is in the way how we take care of the farm and farmlands. It can be an agroforestry or it can be a farming with couple of two to three crops. So it can be anything. But where food is there, where water is there, where shelter is there, they come. And for basic sparrows, we have seen what style they like. They are more human connected. At the same time, they are not wild birds. So they will be in and around where humans are. That is how their style is always.
Okay. Are sparrows considered indicators of a healthy agricultural ecosystem?
Yes, not only sparrows. Oh yes, sparrows can be considered as well, but we can't just distinct it like only sparrows like that. So any agricultural ecosystem, you can find birds and you can find our farmers chasing birds also, because majorly the very important thing with birds is the moment you put the grain, they eat it. Then where will the plant grow? It won't grow. So creating a balance is what we also were doing when we were olden days. If you see, when I connect with 80 years old farmer and all, they used to say how they used to maintain. They never used to chase off the bird. They used to ensure that in this area the bird doesn't enter. The beautiful styling they were using is every corner they used to have a scarecrow, which tells the birds that human is standing there. So that, and after 6 they don't come, they sleep off. So they will get their food, but they don't get access to the complete crop. They will get their crop, whatever they want, they can find it and they get it for their living on daily basis. That is how our olden days we were all living. I mean, we means I'm telling about the people I spoke, the grandmoms, grandparents whom we have seen, whom we have asked stories. That is how the style was. They never used to chase the bird completely out of the place. Bird used to be there, hens used to be there. The axis was beautifully maintained.
Okay. Okay. So now we have the last question. Okay. What simple practices can farmers adopt to protect both soil life and bird populations?
Okay, so bird population we'll keep aside. I'll talk about it. First, we will talk about the soil life, because any crop or any plant can grow healthy if your soil has good health. And as I mentioned, prevention is always better than cure. So there should always be a rotation of crop which you're using, or you should give enough time for your farmland to rest in sense. When your first yield is coming, obviously your soil microorganisms, whatever they have created food, is going to be consumed by your crop and it's going to grow, which means your soil is less in health. How to increase it? Constantly giving it natural fertilization like vermicompost or your cow dung slurry or panchagavya, which you can do with your own materials what you have in your farm, and other natural neem sprays, regular neem sprays, cow's urine spray regularly in sense or interval. If a 365-day calendar is maintained for them to maintain the health inside soil, and we compost and we put it right, obviously the kitchen composting or the leaf composting, whatever is composted completely, we apply it on the farmland. So this is constant health to the microorganisms to multiply. When they multiply, obviously your nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, any other minerals which is required is being in balance. So these things will always have your soil in intact health, and any crop you put is going to grow well. Another thing is, if in case you're growing a crop which is using more of nitrogen from your soil, change the crop where your soil has enough of other nutrients. And I mean, this is just, there are lots of informations behind what soil, what crop should be rotated, all those things. So this, where the agri consultants really used to tell, after this crop you can put this crop. But there are some people who do continuous only single crop growth, so they can give that enough interval for soil, 15 days to 30 days or 30 days to 60 days, depends, interval for the soil to again regenerate. After regenerating, they can put the next yield. There are sometimes like they used to plant, like my one of my friend's house, this is farming, but again this concept resonates to the farming. They said that there were papaya plant and banana plant in the same pit, where the papaya started growing well, plantain was not growing at all. But the potassium which the banana plant gave was, very good, supportive for the papaya plant to grow very well. So they also exchange, nutrients within themselves. Sometimes one plant grows and one don't grow. So looking into companion plantations, or looking into like what intervals they can plant, what are the seasons they can plant, and maintaining every 15 days, maintaining, giving good feed to your soil from your own waste of your own farm itself is more sufficient to increase the microorganisms growth. When microorganisms grow and when it is maintained without chemicals, earthworm starts living. If earthworms are there, nothing more than that, they keep doing their job, like giving aeration, giving enough of all uh, healthy supplies to the soil, where any plant, any crop can grow very well. But maintaining the cycle and a calendar discipline is very important if you're going to maintain in a natural way. Otherwise there are lots, like everything comes from our own, animals itself, and our own, like there is a thing like ada thoda plant. Why it is called as ada thoda? Because the goat never touches and eats that plant, which is a best pest repellent. Take the plant, create the juice out of it and spray it to your crops. That's a best pesticide. So there are lots of things. If we have to talk about it, there are lots of small methods which can be followed without investing more actually. Today's mindset has become like, only if we invest so much on so many things, our crop is going to grow well. No, you invest your time, you invest your old and traditional knowledge, it will still grow. You need patience. So that is more important. And the other part is something it is not going to help if we discuss here. So the main if methods which can be discussed in this forum, these are the methods where you can maintain your farmland 365 days healthy. If it is healthy, any crop you put, any seed you put, the soil knows to do its job and it's going to grow well.
Right. Okay. So before we wind up, one last question. Please let us know a little about your career background and how you started your company.
Okay, yeah. So I am basically an MBA, MCA, double PG graduate, and I started my career in IT, and I worked in multiple IT companies. When I when I was almost serving 14 years in IT, I had a little one who was 1.5 years old, and I wanted to introduce gardening to her in my single 1 BHK apartment in Bangalore. And when I started accessing soil in most of the nurseries, everything was chemicalized. Not only chemicalized, everything had dirts in sense glass pieces, plastics, which, as a mother, we don't feel like making them access this. So there, we had a farm in Ulundai, Tamil Nadu, and we wanted to, manufacture our own soil. That is where I started connecting with people, understanding. In fact, one of my vendor's brother, he taught me how to do vermicomposting. But I wanted to add on a gist to it, so we started doing neem powered vermicomposting, which is also biofertilizer and pest repellent. And then the COVID came in, 2020, COVID came in. So eventually, I was not able to balance both because I had a baby. I stopped it and I started giving to my friends and families who wanted to have a small microgreen grown, showing their children this is how a plant grows. That got converted into a business, which is Tulips and Daffodils. Then I named the brand name as Tulips and Daffodils. And for children, I started this. Lots of children, we started teaching how to grow microgreens, how the journey of plant, how to resonate a plant's journey to our life. In fact, mine itself, when I wanted to close down Tulips and Daffodils, I went to my farmland and I sat. The weed was grown, which was pulled 4 days back. The weed was grown. Then the weed started speaking to me. The nature started speaking to me. I am a small weed. You plucked me, but I have grown in 4 days. Why do you feel you are falling? You will surely grow one day. That is the communication I got from nature. And then I thought, whatever happens, we will do this. And today we are supplying neem powered vermicompost, neem powered potting soil, and panchakavya. We are not giving it to any shops. It's only from direct farm to home, big or farm to any farm supplies, because we wanted the product to be really fresh and not dried. The microorganisms power will be really great, but our major focus is to teach more of school, to approach more of schools and children about soil, about these small things which can create big impact, and learn more. I'm also in a learning journey because I don't have an agri background, MBA, MCA, but everything I'm learning. And universe connected me with my mentor, who is Dr. Sultan Ahmed Ismail. So each time I see his videos, I read it, I learn it, I understand, I go to my garden, I experience it, and bring back information. So I'm more like a postman. I'm not a person who's a scientist. I'm more like a postman. But if you ask my success stories, yes, there are lots of success stories. We have been maintaining our farm, mango farm, without using any chemicals for almost 7, 8 years now. And it's all our panchagavya and our cow dung slurry and neem, everything. So this is a small short storyline. There are lots.
Okay.
But yeah, just a small side. You can access my LinkedIn and tulipsanddaffodils.in website. But everything started for our next generation. So anytime for our next generation.
Yes. Okay. That's very interesting and very inspiring, actually. Hope
Thank you.
our viewers will be benefited with this story of yours.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
the opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Bangi. So now we'll end this meeting. So
Yeah.
have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.